Hi, Mystery Writers. Welcome to the Mystery Writers Studio. I'm Zara Altair, and today I thought I'd talk a little bit about story and Storyworld and captivating your readers from page one. And this is especially geared toward new authors, all right, because it's easy to get sidetracked when you're a new author. But essentially, you have one goal for your readers, and that's to get them to keep reading, to turn the page. And you do that with your story. It's not with your backstory, it's not with your knowledge of whatever it is, and it's not your setting, and it's not your story world. All these things are engaging and they're part of your story, but they are not the story. They help make up the story. Uh, the story itself is what keeps readers reading. So you want to get your readers to care right away, right from the start. You want them to care about what's going on in your story, and especially for your protagonist. And caring comes from understanding and empathy. Uh, so get into the story. Get your reader into the story. Challenge your protagonist. Give them something to do, especially a problem to solve. And for your detective, this problem doesn't have to be big, but you can take one of your can't talk. You can take one of your detective skills and have them use it to solve this minor problem. And that's going to introduce your reader to your detective and how they problem solve and what skills they have. They're going to learn more about more of their skills later, but right now it's just one of those skills that gets them involved and going, oh, whoa, I wish I could do that, but or whatever, you know. But you want them to care about your character. So you want something happening right away. Um, New authors may stumble introducing required story elements without getting into the story. That's why I said this is especially for new authors. Um, so I just wanted to share my experience from several years ago reading a story which was uh, billed as a suspenseful spy thriller. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I love reading this stuff. And I'm in, right? But chapter one consisted of a finely detailed conversation introducing the main character in his everyday world. Thing to do, right? But without one iota of suspense. He and this other character are just chatting up on a hillside, and I'm like, okay, where's the suspense? How, what? But the chapter was filled with finely detailed descriptions of the setting, the protagonist's appearance, including down to the buttons description of what he was wearing, uh, tools used with experience, and backstory about a family member. All of this is happening in the first chapter, but there's no suspense. There's only, oh, we're looking at the character. So we're introducing the character. This author was introducing the character, but not introducing the story, and that's the big difference. The story is suspenseful spy thriller, but none of this is happening. This is not meeting my expectation of a suspenseful spy thriller reader on what's going to happen in that very beginning of the story. I don't get a sense of any of that happening. And that's why I'm saying you can get your story element in, like introducing your main character, but you have to introduce them in with the story. Okay, I think I'm belaboring my point, so let me go on with this, with what happened. So anyway, uh, I I went, okay, I'm going to give this author a break, and I think this story is going to start in chapter 2. But nope. Chapter 2 presented the save the cat details of the protagonist caring for an ailing family member and a long description of a native talent built to professional standards. I think, as I remember, he was a carpenter. I don't remember. This was a couple of years ago. But still, there's no story. All right? We've got another story element that many writers think is very important, and that's the, carrying the save the cat moment where you're going to relate to this character because they care about something. They save a cat. They help this person in this particular instance of the story. Finally, in chapter 3, the intrigue starts, and the narrator had already lost me. And that's what happens when you don't get into the story first. If you're doing all these other details and you don't get into the story, it you can't expect your readers to read chapter 1 and chapter 2 and get to chapter 3 before the story starts. And you want to really dive in right away. Uh, my curiosity as an author and as someone who helps mystery writers drove me to read to chapter 3 because I wanted to see when the story started, if it ever would start. But most readers aren't going to be that tolerant. So this is just a cautionary tale about getting to your story. Uh, in the first few pages of your novel, you need to get the reader into the story. I am certain that the author of the spy thriller believes she had met story essentials by portraying the protagonist's, quote, normal life, showing that he was empathetic and illustrating his unique talent. But in doing so, she left the story behind. You can't ever leave the story behind. All these other things fit into the story, but the story comes first. And that's what's going to engage your readers. You need to find that balance between um, accounting, as I call it, and the initial intrigue that makes the reader wonder what's going to happen next. And especially in a spy thriller or a mystery, we really want our readers to wonder what's going to happen next because that's what keeps them turning the pages. Okay? And you need to, how can I say this? In order to get your reader to keep reading and get them to care about that character and their story dilemma, that's what you need to present first. That's why starting off with a little dilemma that kind of illustrates your protagonist's character and how they respond to things, and maybe illustrating one of their skills, that's going to go, oh, whoa, and giving that sense of how they're going to proceed with solving a mystery, solving a puzzle. That's what you want first in your story when you're writing a mystery. You want to get to those readers to care about the character, so yes, you want to introduce them and you want to introduce them in their normal world, as it were. All right. uh, but readers want to sense this is only the beginning of what's going to happen later, of what's going to happen in the story. This is the beginning of the story. It's not what they're wearing. It's not particularly what the setting is, although setting grounds the reader in your story, but it's getting the reader involved with your main character. It's just going to make such a difference. And once you get them involved, they're going to care, they're going to read on and love your story. Readers want a sense that this is a story. This isn't a character description. This isn't a setting description. This isn't a what happened years ago that provided trauma that made their character who they are. This is right now. So backstory comes maybe 25% into your story, but not at the beginning. And get your reader involved. Create a situation. Get them jumping into that story part of the story. And all those details about the setting and and where people are and how your character dresses. You can fill in all those things later, but at the beginning, you want to get your reader involved with that character and who they are and how they're going to do things, because this is the way this character is going to act for the rest of the story. And once you make that connection with your protagonist, once they make that connection with the protagonist, they're going to care and they're going to want to keep reading your story, right? So let your reader experience that big story world, the setting, whatever it is, through your character's eyes. So long ago in high school, we read Tessa d'Urberville, and there's this huge beginning with the setting and somebody coming down the path, blah, blah, blah. Readers today really have trouble with that kind of beginning. They want, in the first chapter, actually, things do happen, but it takes a long time to get there with Thomas Hardy. But today's readers want things happening right away. So uh, take a look, especially at that very beginning of your story, and make sure that you're getting the reader into the story. You can get all the details for your character, how they dress, and all of that thing um, with later on in the story. People can comment about what they're wearing or whatever, or why do you always have starched shirts, whatever it is. That's something about your character. But but you want to just jump into the story and let the story world and all those character details come in to enliven the story, not to take precedence over the story. I hope this helps, and just start with the story, and you're going to get your readers engaged right away, and they're going to care about your character, and they're going to care about who they are enough to get to that inciting incident where that crime is discovered, and then your character is going to make a commitment to solving the puzzle, solving your mystery. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And also, if you're starting out, um, there's a link to my writing course, Write a Killer Mystery. There's a link below. And I will see you next week. Thanks so much for coming to Misty Writer's Studio.